humans are famously adaptive. We've lived and still live in pretty wildly diverse environments across the globe. And some of the places we call home have a lot harsher conditions than others, like the frozen tundra or dry deserts. But the Turkana people of northern Kenya might have us all beat. They live under some of the harshest conditions of anyone anywhere. So harsh that a group of researchers worked together with their community to find out how they do it. And the results tell us not only about this one specific community and how they live, they might also tell us about everyone and how we adapt to new lifestyles, helping us understand heart disease, diabetes, and more. A lot of the ways humans adapt to new environments are behavioral, like what we wear and what our homes are like. Other adaptations are a lot less obvious and may be hidden in our genes. Even though we know humans aren't immune to natural selection, we have surprisingly little data on the different ways we've adapted to specific environments. Research published in the journal Science in 2025 set out to help us learn more. The study focused on the Turkana people. Today, they mostly live in northwest Kenya, which happens to be one of the most arid, hostile places people are known to currently live. But despite the seemingly harsh conditions, most Turkana have kept up the same lifestyle their ancestors have been following for thousands of years. This extremely dry desert region is not exactly an ideal location to hunt or harvest your food, let alone grow your own crops. Instead, the Turkana are nomadic pastoralists. This means they raise livestock, but they aren't keeping them in one place year-round. Instead, they move around to where the conditions are the best for that time of year. Essentially, they follow rainfall and the vegetation growth that comes along with it. Most of that vegetation isn't directly eaten by the Turkana themselves, but rather feeds their goats, sheep, and camels. And that's where their diet is really interesting. They rely on their livestock for a huge portion of their dietary needs. Between 70 to 80% of their diet is from animal products, including meat, milk, and blood. So if you're thinking that sounds like a lot of protein, you are correct. Like, a lot. About 300% more than the World Health Organization's recommended daily intake, enough to cause significant worries about clogged arteries in most people. The Turkana are also extremely unlikely to be meeting your average daily recommended intake of water. Rainfall is rare and short-lived, so even though they're consuming liquid-heavy foods and blood and milk, they still spend several hours a day walking great distances to collect water in the hot, dry, and exposed conditions. This would be a significant physical challenge for many people, regardless of fitness level, but the Turkana take it in stride. And this realization is what sparked this research question to begin with. We sat down with Julian Iros, a member of the team responsible for this research.
The project happened almost serendipitously. I was hiking in Turkana County with a friend of mine who is Kenyan. And we were hiking, I was completely dehydrated, and we came across these three ladies with, bucket of water on their head, babies strapped on their chest. And I was absolutely bewildered because we couldn't see any housing in sight. And so as my friend, like, what's going on? How are we doing this? And he's like, oh, they're Turkana. That's what they do. They walk 3 to 6 miles to get water on a very regular basis. And so as we were walking back to the car, we were sort of wondering how did this happen? What is the biology allowing such an incredible set of skills?
While these long walks for water are extremely impressive, they're not exactly carrying home an abundance of the wet stuff. And when they were asked about their water situation, the Turkana study participants nearly unanimously recognized that they don't have access to enough. Their physical test results back that up too, revealing that almost 90% of Turkana people tested met the criteria for dehydration. While it might seem like a big risk to your health to be chronically dehydrated while eating 300% more protein than a lot of the human population, it's not the recipe for a health disaster it sounds like. That is, if your genes have adapted to those very specific conditions. And in the case of the Turkana, they have. For this study, the genomes of 308 Turkana participants were sequenced, as well as an additional 59 people from other communities in the region. From there, they compared this sequenced DNA to known data sets of populations from other regions of Africa. And the analysis found a number of regions of their DNA that stood out from the pack, but one region in particular really seemed to be strongly selected for in the Turkana population. This region appeared to be an enhancer, a handy bit of DNA that boosts the transcription of a gene, meaning how much it's getting used by the cell. And the boosted gene, in this case, is called STC1. In earlier studies, STC1 has been tied to the removal of some of the waste products made as our body breaks down purines, compounds that just so happen to exist in high concentrations in meat. Purines are something you can definitely have too much of, leading to potentially dangerous conditions like gout. STC1 also appears to play a role in concentrating urine, which is extremely helpful when your body is trying to use water as efficiently as possible. So STC1 definitely seems like a gene you'd want to have in abundance if you live in the desert with little water and a lot of meat to eat. What's extra cool about comparing these large sets of DNA across regions is that you can uncover when specific genes started to be strongly selected for in a population's history. And in the case of this STC1 boosting region, it began making its mark nearly 350 generations ago. And what was happening around that time in East Africa? The climate was becoming very, very dry.
We uncovered the footprint of selection, and we actually could tie it back to the timing of selection when the Turkana moved from where they were about 5,000 years ago up all the way up north, more or less where Egypt is today, and they migrated southward as the north part of Africa became the Sahara, where the people moved southward. And so the timing of selection coincided well with that. So the aridification of northern part of Africa.
Not only did this genetic comparison study start to uncover how Turkana genes could be specifically tuned to work to their advantage under seemingly extreme environments, the study also shed light on how natural selection under a changing climate could have very likely led to these vital genetic adaptations, which are still doing their thing hundreds of generations and thousands of years later. But there's even more we can learn from all this, and it might take us well beyond the desert. But first, we'll keep the lights on with this quick break. Thanks for watching this SciShow video, and thanks for watching any of our videos that have come out over the last 14 years. We want to keep SciShow going, and you are a vital part of that equation. By watching videos when they come out, commenting on them, sharing them, and supporting them on Patreon, you make SciShow possible. That last thing is particularly important right now. With AI scraping our videos to turn a profit and misinformation and disinformation all over the internet, you can do something to move the needle in the other direction toward information that's backed by science. From March 13th through 27th, you can get a SciShow postcard or spinner to keep SciShow going another year. Find them at complexly.org/support SciShow. Check out the links below to support us. Thank you. Even though many Turkana still practice their traditional nomadic lifestyle, others have stuck to living rurally, but no longer really following their traditional pastoral practices. Still, others have moved away from the open desert entirely and into urban environments. Moving from the pastoral plains to a more urban area would grant you much easier access to lots of diverse foods and enough water to stave off near constant dehydration. Must be all good, right? Well, not necessarily. And this brings us to the evolutionary mismatch hypothesis. This is a fairly intuitive idea. It says that if you pluck an organism out of the conditions it's adapted to, it's going to have a bad time. Essentially, leaving those friendly conditions could be detrimental to our health, even if the new conditions, especially for those of us in the global north, seem like they should be easier to thrive under, not harder. I did not evolve to sit around typing on a keyboard most of the day, but here I am. But while this mismatch idea has been around for a while, there's still not a whole lot of clear data to back it up, genetically speaking. That's largely because in many populations, our current lifestyles and conditions have been different from our ancestors for quite some time now, so making a direct comparison is pretty tricky.
Most of the time, the comparisons have been between European populations and, say, hunter-gatherer, the Hadza. And when you compare a European population to a hunter-gatherer group, the timing of the transition is very different, right? Europeans have transitioned to a non-subsistence, we've been market integrated for a very long time. And of course, the genetic is very different.
Even though these distinct population comparisons are less than ideal, the mismatch hypothesis is still sometimes invoked to explain why certain ailments, like heart disease and diabetes, are problems in urban societies. And thanks to the specific lifestyle and geographic history of the Turkana, they're set up for a much cleaner comparison between populations.
So what makes the Turkana community an amazing partner in this project is that within an ancestry group, we have a lifestyle gradient where some people live traditional lifestyle up north, right, all the way up north in Kenya. And as you move further south, people are, some people live in a core, live like you and I, right, in an air-conditioned room and eating the same kind of food, probably.
The study had the ability to compare a population that has made a pretty rapid shift from one environment to another, and that allowed the team to see some patterns a bit more clearly. They noticed that urban Turkana had changes to metabolism and gene expression compared to pastoral individuals. This suggests that their bodies were reacting to changes in the environmental conditions they were facing. Essentially, their new lifestyle might not be jiving well with their old genes, and their internal processes were being tweaked in response to make up for it. For Turkana people living in these urban conditions, their shifting gene activity highlighted a potential increased risk of chronic diseases like heart disease. And this is significant because these are diseases that are pretty new to the Turkana.
Noticing along the way that many of the diseases that are so common in the West, broadly speaking, that were very rare in the Turkana community became more and more common as they transitioned to an urban lifestyle. And one of the leading hypotheses globally, and not just for the Turkana, about why is it that 100 years ago, most people died of infectious disease, and now we die of non-communicable disease as a species.
So this line of research could help us learn even more about health problems that are linked to lifestyle changes in urban settings across the world. The people who stand to benefit most from the answers to all these questions are the Turkana themselves. But that might not be too surprising because it's the Turkana who asked them in the first place. Thanks to the partnership model used to conduct the research, the Turkana community has been directly involved in deciding the kind of information they want to learn about themselves through the project.
People sort of seated in circle, and for about a day, we just like, and it's a question, and it's a rapid firing of questions, and when we can provide some answers, and sometimes we just like make a note, like, oh, that would be interesting. We should ask that question as well. And some of the question we're asking today about parasites and about water quality and many other things along those lines came from people during this sit-down meeting asking the questions, and then we do our best to return results, and then when we bring results back, we get more questions, and then that sort of feed the cycle. I should also say that the project team is about 12 people, are all Kenyans, and half of them are Turkana themselves, so there's like integration at that level as well.
As a result of these community discussions, around 5,000 people across 80 communities have enrolled in the research cohort so far. With so many participants across these communities, it makes for a lot of people to report back to as well, which is a vital part of the project. But sharing back the results to a community that is spread across this huge region, partially nomadic, and unlikely to be able to read the findings in a paper published in English, even if you could get it to them, poses a significant challenge. So the researchers are creating a podcast in the Turkana language to better share the results with the community. This project is not only helpful for the Turkana who are living through these changes in real time, though. It's helping us discover the different ways human health is intertwined with our environment, our genetics, and how our ancestors used to live. Learning what conditions our genes are best adapted to withstand and what ones cause us grief could benefit a lot of people, whether you're a pastoral nomad or a work-from-home urbanite. Through that knowledge, maybe we can start to decrease the rate of some diseases associated with the mismatch between what our ancestors were doing and eating versus what our days and dinners look like now.